Hi everybody, I'm Sir Squeebles. I'm here with Apotny and Elise Randolph, who are both going to be with me as commentators for the Alliance Tournament 12. We're going to continue our series of reviews of the matches from ATXI with the Matani.com and just talking about what we liked about the matches. And up next is Agony Empire versus Ministry of Inappropriate Footwork. I will go ahead and say just off the comps of this one, I think this was actually one of the matches I was going to submit, but I was a little late to it, so I figured I'd default to other choices. But I think the support war in this particular match is amazing. I think just the armor versus shield is obviously a question in almost every comp. A lot of ships can do both, and we've seen them do both, even the Dominixes and some of the Exodus setups from last year, but I saw the Proteuses, I saw the Tengus, and I wasn't really excited about either. But when I saw like the Caracals and the Molluses versus these really tanky armor frigates, I knew it was going to be really interesting. The micromanagement from these Molluses has to be so spot on, and the Caracals have to be so careful that it was guaranteed to be a really interesting dance in the support wings.
Yeah, what I really loved about this match is that, like, it's two polar opposites colliding. You've got the Blaster Proteuses, those Blaster Frigates, very, very hardcore rolling setup, going against the complete opposite, the archetypal kiting team, the HML Tengus, those Caracals, who want to keep max range that's assisted by the Molluses. So you've got the two polar opposites going against each other, and it's going to be down really to piloting skill as to which is going to bet over the other, because it's not clear-cut from the beginning.
Yeah, and what I really liked about this, is that Agony and MIF were both these surprise teams that came out of nowhere, and they took people by surprise. Even like the heavyweight teams, like they were nothing to snooze at about. And these Tengus are like kiting teams or something we never really see in this Alliance tournament.
And again with the Molluses are the heroes of this match, just like Damps have been for so many comps in the ATA and the other tournaments. But typically you see these brawler setups bring the heavier E-War support. They've got more free mid slots and they rely way too heavily on that close range fight to leave it up to chance. And unfortunately this time they got out-damped by these Molluses, which is just devastating for them, and it means those frigate pilots especially really have to take a risk to get out of rep range of the Oneros, but to get that initial tackle to give them any hope.
And you can see what these guys did well. Like MIF just sent their frigate wing over to the Bassi, and they did a good job catching it. But Agony Empire were able to damp down the Oneros, like they were holding their dams a little bit. Then you saw them just throw them all on the Oneros right at one moment, and just start murder zoning through these Enyos. And so you just see them just go poof poof poof. Bassi's still a little bit tackled now, but I mean it's just so smart. Like this Mollusk play is just great. Like just to psych out this Oneros.
Yeah, like the entire outcome of the match, and both teams know it, is on the survival of those Enyos and Ishkars. If the Ministry of Inappropriate Footwork team cannot tackle down Agony will kite them all day long. They'll pick off a few guys and have a points advantage. They have to tackle people down, but at the same time, that means putting those frigates in danger. So it's that big kind of duality of, I need to do this, but it's really, really risky.
I think that if you're with Agony this match and you land on grid and you see such a frigate-heavy team, you breathe a huge sigh of relief. Caracals, I wouldn't say they're underutilized, but they're so deadly. They're so deadly, and you see them used effectively most of the matches they're in. So for them to land with these Caracals and see that healthy selection of frigates, it's like a buffet.
And you can see that Footwork kind of guessed a little bit wrong. They have a bunch of mid slots by virtue of being an armor team, as Squeebles mentioned, but they have tracking disruptors. Against the missile team, those things are so useless. So you've probably got like, I don't know, eight mid slots eight mid slots gone, and mid slots are so key in a thing. But they get the Bassi down, so they don't give up hope. The Proteuses generally don't give a shit about damps anyway because they have to be on your face. They do have bonus scrams, which are nice.
Yeah, I think the Galinti and Amar frigates are obviously a standard of the armor comps, but as soon as you're fielding Inyos and Ishkars and Vengeances and you're limiting your mid slots so much that if you have too many frigates, you're sacrificing a lot of control. You do have a lot of beef in your tackle wing, which is great, but it doesn't really mean much if even the frigates can get a ward, like happened in this match. I mean, the Molluses were really smartly rotating damps even onto the frigates to force them to commit even further than they already had. So I think I'm not convinced, especially from the performance like this, that the Galanti and Amar frigates are all they're chalked up to be in a lot of these comps.
Yeah, well, so I was like, when I'm watching this match, I'm like, this can still go either way. Like, as long as one Ishkar's alive, they can just systematically catch one ship and break it down. Catch one ship, break it down. But as soon as Agony managed to just, they had their heads on straight, they just said, okay, you know what? These guys are going to try and turtle up or something and then just come at us at a group. We're just going to pile through this Onirios. And you could see MIF, or Footwork, I should say, like, they had a plan for this. They had their Proteuses throw out rep drones to try and keep that Onirios alive, but it just wasn't enough. The Tengus on the field, the Caracols, they could just project so much damage. And if you look at the little mini map, they're all spread out. So right now it's just hopeless for Footwork.
And we were saying earlier, like those Caracols were so powerful. But I think this year, if you consider the changes they've made to rapid light missiles, they do double the DPS for half the time when you have that giant reload. But in AT matches, if you can volley, like, you know, 2 or 3, even 4 frigates off the field really, really quickly with those rapid lights, who cares if you're not firing? You've already done so much work to the enemy team.
And it's worth mentioning also, though, that that makes the Caracal a... You don't have one Caracal in a comp, basically, because, like you said, you're relying on the alpha, essentially. I mean, the DPS is good, but in a strange way, it is an alpha ship. So when you see one Caracal, you typically see 3, and that is a fair number of pilots and points to commit just to killing frigates, but they do it so well that you see it pay off, and I don't think that's going to slow down, even with the shift toward more drone-heavy metas this year. Or I should say combat drone-heavy metas this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of two minds. It's very good against, like, the certain archetype where you have, like, a whole bunch of, like, 6+ assault frigates protecting, like, a very few core ships. Like, the Caracols and the missile ships, like the Orthus and stuff like that, will be, and even Serbs, will be good at shredding those, but I still think it's super dangerous. Like, Agony played this so well. I think if you play this maybe 10 times, I think at least 6 of those times, or at least 4 of those times, Footwork can come up ahead. Maybe if they tweak some of their mids a little bit, they don't rely so much on TDs. Obviously, you can't change like once you see this, but and you can't predict a missile kite team either.
Yeah. That was
But
a giant oh fuck moment as soon as they landed on grid. Like, it's like, oh god, it's a missile setup. Oh
Yeah.
god.
Well, and you can see just the comfort of Agony. Like, they have practice in it. They know how to fly it. They can see the chink in Ministry's armor right off the bat, because I've just watched the speed of the Caracals pretty much this entire match, and they did a really, really nice job. You can tell they're not too concerned. They're not overburning. They're pulling to a decent range and just exploiting the fact that they can get away with whatever they want.
Yeah, but I mean, even though this match seems firmly in Agony's favor, they had a Tengu caught, and it evaporated. So, I mean, that's one Tengu down, and you're tied on points. I mean, obviously, like, these guys have the DPS as long as they keep moving around. If Footwork had, like, 1 or 2 tackle ships alive, just get a suicide tackle on a Tengu and long enough for the Proteuses to get up, like, these things can melt through a Tengu. So it's just so crazy. So much stuff is going on. So many things have to go just right for both teams. And this match definitely came down to piloting, I'd say. And a little bit of luck. A lot of piloting skill. But yeah, you play this 10 times, I think maybe 60-40 in Agony's favor, but it's not certain every single time.
And that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. It's the hardest possible brawling versus a very, very kitey team. So it's all going to depend on who dictates the range. And I think everybody agrees that both in the AT and in EVE in general, 90% of fights are decided by who dictates the movement of the fight.
Yeah, and I think the MVPs the MVPs of this match, I think, were the Mollis pilots. I mean, Tengus and Caracals, they were flying around good and stuff like that. But it was that moment when they were able to damp the Onerios down and the frigates were out of rep range. Like just that instant, and then boof, a third of your frigates are down, and that just, you're just so far behind the 8-ball when that happens. Man, just so harsh. I mean, Footwork, you see they had sort of a plan for this. They brought their own Mollis. Mollis was a very common ban that we saw teams make. So I was actually surprised to see both sides let Mollises slip through, but obviously they both wanted to use them.
Like, it's so few points, and Damps, even though they've now been nerfed slightly, they're still just so good. Like, Damps are just amazing. Like, Celestis have overtaken Blackbird used in General Eve, like, by a long way, at least in the PvP I'm seeing for the past, 8 to 12 months. Like, Damps are just incredible.
Well, and for a number of reasons. I mean, obviously you've got the gamble of an ECM cycle catching, which I think everybody realizes is a really bad bet to make a lot of times, especially in a 12v12 situation. But you've also got what we just saw with the Assault Frigates on the Footwork side, where they fit tracking disruptors, which is great, only if you know what you're fighting. Whereas damps are applicable, I mean, brawling setups, kiting setups, it doesn't matter. You can find a damp target in any comp.
It's a lot less risk. You're exactly right. So, like, with the jams, as you say, you got the random number generator. If you've got the tracking disruptor, maybe they're missiles, maybe they're turrets. Like, damps, you go in knowing what you're going to get, really. So you can plan more around it. Because, if you're gambling, then you've got different outcomes. Whereas if you've got a damp, if my ship is at this range, it will damp this target to this amount. So you can already make those decisions, and the target callers from the teams, that means their decision-making process is a lot easier, meaning that, they're gonna perform better. Okay, friends, that was the Agony Empire versus Ministry of Inappropriate Footwork match. This is the end of that video. I hope you enjoyed our thoughts.